So you want to know, why do narcissists only reveal themselves after marriage or after having children? Like, why didn't you show me truly who you were before? I'm going to answer that question for you. But more importantly, I'm going to give you some guidance on what's the next best steps, because we don't want to just talk about them and why they're doing what they're doing. But in order for you to live your best life, in order for you to heal, for you to move on, for you to position yourself to make sure you don't end up with these types of people ever again in your life, you need to now know what to do next. So stick around for the entire video so you can hear exactly your next best steps. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Nailah Abdullah. I am a toxic relationship coach with a background in mental health therapy, and I work with those impacted by toxic and narcissistic relationships, helping them to heal and to rebuild and move on in their life. So let's get into this topic. So to answer the question, why do narcissists only reveal themselves after you having children with them or getting married? The reason for that is that these people, whether they've been diagnosed with narcissism, you call them narcissistic because you see the traits, or you call them toxic, right? I want you to understand these people are highly calculative, right? Everything they do, it's a strategy. Nothing they do is just out of genuine love, genuine care. There's always a motive, right? A hidden motive. Even if that motive is for 10 years down the line, 20 years down the line, right? They are living in a falsehood, right? Their whole life is a facade, and everything they do, they are setting themselves up, trying to position themselves to have leverage over others, to have control over others, to have a good image, you know, in front of the community or whoever, right? So when they get with you and they want to have children and when they want to go ahead and get married, right? These are all strategies to trap you. They're not doing it because they love family. Now, they do like family. Let's be clear about that. They love the image of family, of marriage and children, because that makes them feel accomplished, and not really feel. It presents the image of that they are accomplished, that they are quote unquote normal, right? So they love that image. It gives them a status that they want, right? So they want those things, but they don't want it for the same reason. And that's where that problem, becomes, because the people that they're with, they want marriage and children too, right? But they want it for genuine reasons, right? To love and to pour into others, but they want it for image. They want it for control. They want it to present a certain facade. So now once they get that marriage, once they get those children, for them, it's like ding, 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 ding. Now I have you trapped. Now I got what I wanted. Now I know you don't want to mess this up, because now this is even more precious to you. So now I have you trapped. Now I can really show my true colors, because I know you're not going to leave. Or if you do leave, it's going to be really hard for you to leave. I have the upper hand now. Okay, so not only is it for image, not only is it for facade, but it's also for control. They believe once they get married to you, once they have children with you, now they have more control. Now I don't have to pretend as much. That's how they're thinking. I don't have to pretend as much. I can really, express who I am, be the monster that I am. And I know it's going to be hard for you to go, because this is something you value. I value it as a narcissist, right? I value it, but you value it way more than I do, and for different reasons. So now I can really, break you down, control you, manipulate you, and play the games that they love to play. Now, we talked about them and why they wait until childbirth or marriage to show who they are, to reveal themselves. But you may not like this, but because I care about you and I don't want you to just binge watch on narcissism and toxic people, I really want you to heal, which means understanding your role, our role, because I've been there too. Even as a mental health therapist, even as a coach, I have been there, right? We have to understand our role. That is a part of healing. So then we know what parts of ourselves we need to work on. Now, we're saying, why do they only reveal themselves after marriage or after childbirth? But the reality is they did not wait until then to reveal themselves. They just got worse after the marriage and after the childbirth. They showed us signs of who they were. Right? And this is a little bit difficult, and this is not about blame, but it is about taking responsibility. So when we are clear about how that happened, our role in it, then we can be clear and set ourselves up for the future, for future relationships, right? To make sure we don't end up in that situation again. But the reality is, what I have seen in women I've worked with, and even in my own situation, we are sometimes waiting for what I call the big bang. I talk about that in my free ebook. You can find it in the guide, in the description below. It's a free guide where I talk about some of the mistakes I made as well. And I think that was one of the biggest mistakes, is waiting for the big bang. What do I mean by the big bang? The big bang is walking into the bedroom and finding a woman in the bed with them, or a man, if you are a man watching this and it's gender is vice versa, right? That is a big bang. Something really major happening to say, this is it, and you're not afraid of other people judging you for leaving the relationship because it was such a big bang. It was such a big issue. But the reality is, and this is how these people function, they give, instead of giving one big cut, they give little minor cuts, right? But after a while, it starts to break you down. It starts to chip away at you, right? But here's something I've learned, and it allowed me to position myself to be in a new healthy relationship. Don't wait for the big bang. If there are things that are happening that you realize is not healthy, and that comes also learning how to heal, learning how to work on yourself, being clear for yourself what's healthy versus what's not healthy, right? But when you see things that are happening that are not healthy, it is your role, it is your responsibility to yourself, to your own well-being, and to the person that you're even with, right? To discuss those things. And when it's a healthy relationship, when it's a healthy person, when it's an emotionally mature person, they will be completely okay with having those conversations. And not all the conversations may be fun and comfy, right? It may stir up some things, but at the end of the day, you all are able to come together to say, listen, this is what's happening. That's not healthy. I'm not comfortable with it. And you're able to work that out. Unfortunately, the reality is maybe you did address some of those red flags, those minor cuts you saw in the relationship before marriage, before childbirth, right? And the response you got, you didn't really get much out of it, but you know what? You prayed for the best. You hoped for the best. You thought maybe after marriage, after children, things would change. But I know for sure that it will benefit us, us, including myself, that has been there, that we take responsibility for that role. Because again, in the future, we will be able to say, okay, I can't wait for the big bang. I have to address the things at hand. But the reality is, as we are answering this question, why do narcissists only reveal themselves after marriage and childbirth? That actually is not the case, right? They just get worse. And what we need to make sure now, we talked about them, now we're talking about self, is that you don't allow them to make you feel like you're stuck. After marriage, there is something called divorce. Is this something you want? No, no one gets married to get divorced. But if you realize you have married a monster, then it applies. Then it is necessary, right? And even after children, that makes it extremely hard. I am a mother myself, a broken home with parents split. It's the last thing you want, right? But what is even worse is exposing your children to behavior that is destructive, exposing your children to an example of what marriage looks like, or what, parenthood looks like. And these babies are watching. They are seeing everything. They are absorbing everything. Even if they're not aware they're absorbing it, they are. They may not be able to articulate what they're seeing, but they are observing, they're absorbing, right? And we don't want to feed them the wrong thing. So we talked about why the narcissist waits until childbirth or marriage to reveal themselves. And we're not gonna say only until then to reveal themselves, because we're clear now that they've been revealing themselves. They're just more comfortable now because they think you feel trapped. We talked about your role, right? Positioning yourself to not feel trapped. So what is the next best step? We want to focus first on mindset, right? Because I can tell you to do this, do that, do this, do that. But if our mindset is not right, and coming out of these relationships, we are fried, right? You feel anxious, you feel stressed, and that's exactly where they want you, so you can't think clearly. So we really need to focus on your mindset, right? Reminding yourself that I am not trapped. Yes, I might feel more, I might have more challenges now to get out of this marriage. I will have more challenges now to deal with, co-parenting with someone who has narcissistic traits if there's children involved, but it doesn't mean that you are trapped. Okay. Another mindset shift to make is that I'm going to stick around just to keep stability. The idea of stability with a narcissist or anyone who is toxic is delusional, okay? It's delusional. It does not exist. It's not reality. Okay, just because you share a home, you know, bills are being paid and you're going on day by day in a routine on autopilot, that doesn't equate to stability, because really you have no emotional stability. You have no emotional peace, and the children won't either. Whether they realize it or not, it's an unhealthy environment. Okay, so I want you to shift that mindset that I'm rocking the boat, I'm taking away the stability. No, you're not. You are saving yourself. You are saving the children. These people are highly unhealthy. Okay. And again, even if the children don't see it right away, even if the children may not completely feel it right away, the fact that you are being broken down, the mother, right, the one that gave birth to these children, that is abuse in itself towards the children, because they are seeing an unhealthy treatment of their primary caretaker, which is their mother. So as you are working on your mindset, to remind yourself of that, and let me just give a little advice as far as how do we work on the mindset, because that's easy to say, work on your mindset. Being in the right environment, and I'm going to get into that in a minute. Being in the right environment around the right people, journaling, prayer, continuously reminding yourself, self-talk. Sometimes we have to look in the mirror and talk to ourselves, or if you're just doing something in the kitchen, continue to talk to yourself. I am not trapped. This situation is temporary, right? I am going to find my way out of this. I am going to connect with the right people to support me out of this. I'm going to set my pride aside. Sometimes we have so much pride. We have shame. That is all normal. We have guilt. All normal emotions that comes along with these situations, but don't let it stop you from getting the support that you need. And that brings me into the next step. As we're dealing with the mindset part, is physically what do? We start working on positioning yourself to have what you need to be without that person, right? So financially, making sure you are well financially. Again, we spoke about supports. Okay, sometimes you're going to have people in your life, friends or family, that can give you a certain level of support or may not be able to give you a certain level of support. So make sure you're not trying to force everyone to be your support. Sometimes you're going to have a lot of support. Sometimes you may have no support. So don't hesitate getting outside support from people who understand and that can help you, who have been there and who can help guide you through this process, because it is hard, it is challenging, but it is necessary. You're not the first. Unfortunately, you won't be the last. So it can be done. And with marriage and children, usually that means you are sharing a house, sharing a place to live. So also be ready to make some sacrifices. Depending on your financial situation, depending on your resources, you may not be able to set up the same living environment that you're coming out of, but don't let those superficial materialistic things hold you back. Okay? Sometimes people go from living in a big house, 5-bedroom house, to being in a studio apartment, but guess what? They have their peace, and that studio apartment is only temporary. Okay, so be ready, be willing to make that sacrifice, because this is not a game. This is your life. This is your mental health. This is your well-being. And the reality is, the more that you are exposed to these types of people, the longer you're connected to them, the longer that they have, control and manipulation over your life, the more damage they're doing. So by the time you get out, if you do get out, because some people don't want to let go because they have so many fears, but by the time those people do get out, there is so much damage. And it doesn't mean that the healing can't happen, but it gives you more work to do in the end. Right? So you want to get out as soon as you can, position yourself, get the supports, put them in place. Don't allow shame and guilt to hold you back, because you don't want people to know your business. You don't want people to know you made a mistake. I get it. I've been there personally. I know women who have been there. But let me tell you something. It is necessary for your well-being today, tomorrow, and for the rest of the years to come. And if there's children involved, it is also important that they understand what is healthy versus unhealthy. If you are in a place where you find yourself trapped, you feel like I've made a big mistake, and you want to go deeper in your healing, getting guidance to get yourself out of it. Maybe you've already gotten out, but you still realize, I'm emotionally, psychologically not where I want to be. I still feel haunted by these situations because these things do linger on. You can click the links in the description box below. You have access to different resources that I have there for you. I hope this message blesses you. I will talk to you soon.